Do you remember the first story that was so spellbinding that it drove you to break the rules and stay up all night? To keep reading, keep listening, keep playing? So good you forgot your life and lived there?
So good that the moment it ended, you asked yourself, what next?
Welcome to the floor. Our goal is to take you back, take you deeper, to explore and understand more, and relive that childlike wonder.
Join us as we dive deep into humanity's greatest stories, no matter how they are told, through books, movies, television, even games.
One of us does an in-depth research on our topic. One of us is familiar with the topic.
And one of us knows nothing. So the right questions will always be asked and will be addressed for anyone coming into the topic, regardless of how much you know.
Enjoy another world, another adventure, another spellbinding story. Join us on the floor.
Welcome back to another episode of Eberron, the Mage Punk D&D campaign setting. We are jumping back into our patron series on religion. This episode, the topic is the cults of the dragon below. But before we get back into it, I want to thank those who wrote in corrections on our last episode of Eberron, the Silver Flame. Those corrections would be that Kyber is a female, and we're referring to Kyber as a male. Yes. And this leans into that Kyber has children, right? She's a female, and she has
the children of Kyber. That is the thing they say in Eberron. Yeah.
Right. And thus Sybaris and Eberron are more male, as they are referred to. So I just wanted to correct that, as well as Tyra Myron. I said that she was a leader of ROA, but it was Dol Ara. Dol Ara is the son. ROA was fertility, love, and life. And so we had just confused those names. So without further ado, let's get on to the cults of the dragon below. What do you guys imagine this means?
Worshippers of Kyber is my guess, because the dragon below is, of course, a reference to Kyber, who is the Underdark, but also a dragon. So, but I know stuff about Eberron. I guess Aaron. I should have let Aaron go first, because now he knows stuff.
So Kyber's a female?
Correct.
So just because Kyber has children, that makes him a female?
I mean, there are children of Sybaris, like the Kolots. Those are children of Sybaris, or born from Sybaris's blood. And then, most of your common races are from Eberron's blood. But children of Kyber are referred to demons, the overlords, things of that nature.
And Cerberus and what was the other one's name?
Sybaris and Eberron.
And Eberron. Oh yeah, Eberron. That one I should know. Cerberus and Eberron. They're both basically dudes.
Yeah.
And Kyber's the evil one.
Yes.
And Kyber's the female.
Uh-huh.
I feel like you're beating that one pretty heavy.
I just want to make sure these are so they just decided that the evilist was the female. That was the plan there.
I mean, there's just 3 progenitor dragons, right? One of them's going to kill one. One of them's going to capture the one who's the destroyer, and that's the state of the world. Right. And yes, that is how it's laid out, Aaron. I see what you're pointing at.
So I wonder if this was even taken from Dragonlance. So when they created the Dragonlance world and story, they had 3 main characters. You have Tanis, you have Kitara, and you have Lana, right? And those are meant to represent good, neutral, and evil in the world, those alignments.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you're saying that Sybaris and Eberron were both male, but within the world of Dragonlance, Tanis is neutral, so that he can be pulled into relationships with both Katara and Lana, who represent good and evil. And so he, as the neutral, kind of swings back and forth between the two.
Kind of like Loki.
So, what do you mean?
Well, Loki was male and female.
Right. He flips rather than being androgynous, being both at the same time, or
Yeah. No, androgynous is where it's unclear, and is it
hermaphrodite?
Hermaphrodite is both.
Ah, right. Yes, yeah.
What a fun vocabulary lesson.
All right, so
anyways, the children of Kyber.
When you hear somebody say the cults of the dragon below, this is a blanket phrase, and that's why it's cults and not cult, because it represents any kind of group following enslavement, mind enslavement kind of a idea that will eventually, its end goal being the destruction, the bringing darkness and evil and to Eberron, right?
Wait, didn't we talk about something like this last time? Like their goal is to destroy Eberron, the world they live on, to free Kyber.
Right. So it's almost like if you were part of one of these cults, you might be aware of another cult, and they're following a different path, and it's like this game of we don't think if this will happen, we think when, and the game we are playing is who will figure this out.
Right. Well, and I think this is something I point out to a lot of people who get really deep in arguing in politics. Be like, if you really look at it, be like regardless of what political party you support, both of them want a better world. They just disagree on what that better world looks like and how we get there. But they both want a better world, right?
Right.
But if you're talking to someone who's hardcore one or the other, they will swear that the other side does not want a better world.
So, yeah, but I mean, both sides want a better world, but they disagree on what that world will look like, right?
Well, it's basically just, it's the perspective. It's the lack of perspective. You can't see things from other people's perspective. So,
well, I think it's less than that. Like, big data has revealed to us that telling your political party that the other political party is evil helps create zealots, and zealots are more engaged in the voter process and supporting. And so it's more about just empowering your own base.
I think the first time I heard the word zealot was actually in Halo 2.
You fighting those zealots?
Yeah, I eradicated those.
and
those ones.
Joe, you had brought up last time that if we destroy our world, we will have paradise. That is one of the cults, 100%. They definitely, some of them definitely believe in that, and that is their goal. So, yes, they would either be following one of the 30 overlords, right? And those would be specific cults, but those would also break down. So if you had a very powerful demon that had his own following, that would be a separate cult, right? So it'd break down.
So you're saying there's like more than 30 of these little cults? No wonder they can't get anything done.
Joe, 30 is a very low number.
But it is more than 30.
So as follows following Kyber, there's 30.
Okay, so there's 30 different.
There's 30
cults.
overlords.
Okay,
right.
Yeah, that's
each one of them has their own cult. Now, some of those creatures that follow that specific overlord would be powerful enough to have their own cult within that cult. Right, he brings his own power,
within cults. Within cults.
Right.
A subsection of cults.
Overview goal through their leaders, right? Their leaders are like, we know what this goal is.
Yeah,
and this is to bring destruction.
This is why so many villains use henchmen as opposed to cults, because there's just too much ambition on the evil side of things. And everybody's trying to build their own little team, do their own little thing. It's like, it's just better to just hire henchmen, because then they just do what you say and you pay them,
Because their ambition is the money you have for them. So as long as you keep that satiated, you'll be fine. You pay them too little, then you got other issues.
They're constantly in competition of each other. If you're familiar with,
as we see with the cults of the Dragon Below, this is a mess. This is a terrible system.
And like the worst MLM ever.
And you see this in the Sith before they formed the Power of Two. They had a whole empire, and they were all competing and backstabbing with each other as well.
Yeah. When you go villain, you get henchmen, not followers. Otherwise, it's a mess. Right? So all of you villains out there, remember, henchmen, not followers.
So
henchmen, not cults.
These cults are motivated or powered by one of two goals. One is power. The other one is madness. Which might look like mind enslavement or just raw mental tactics to break somebody's will and make them bend the knee, if you will.
I will not.
And so the Aaron, I know you weren't here for this, but we were talking about the goblinoids and the invasion from the plane of madness, Zoriat.
Is that a Pokemon?
Yes. No.
Sonic Beam or something? Catch him in the cave.
So there are planes that connect to Eberron, just like in the Forgotten Realms. You've got different planes, right? And this is confusing, because in D&D we have other dimensions, which are entire other universe versus where things happen. But we also have these planes, and the best way to explain a plane is how you're used to encountering other dimensions, but they're much smaller. Right? Another dimension is not an entire other universe. It's just a small little pocket, almost like another planet. But instead of traveling through space to get to this other place, you travel through the, I guess, ether, and enter
like planes, like planeswalkers from Magic.
Yeah, there you go. And so you cross over to them almost like you'd be crossing to another dimension,
like walking through a door.
But they're not like a huge universe on the other side of that dimension. It's just like another planet, and that is the only thing there, and you can go back and forth. So one of the other planes connected to Eberron is Zoriat, the plane of madness.
Right. And
so we're going to get into the planes of madness after this break.
I don't know if that's where we're going. We're talking about the Cult of the Dragon Below, right?
I don't know.
This will be a multi-part episode. This is not our final episode.
All right. So what are we going to go into when we get back?
So we'll touch on Zoriat. We'll briefly mention the Dark Six, and then we're going to probably get into hags. Hags are one of the unifying factors of these cults.
All right. Okay, so we have been mentioning at the end of our episodes recently about the treasure room, how, as Aaron likes to describe it, in the floor we go deep into things, but in the treasure room we kind of go wide. And we wanted to give people who have never been in the treasure room a little bit of a sample. So going forward, we'll probably be putting in little bits and pieces here. So here is a small clip from the treasure room. We hope you enjoy it and are interested in learning more in there. We grew the ear on the mouse, right? Like I think in like the 90s or early 2000s, they were able to grow an ear on a mouse. And it's like, if we can do that through manipulating DNA, can we grow wings on a man? Right? Mm-hmm. And if we can grow wings on a man, can we make them functional wings?
Right. And yeah. That's where the problem happens, right? Making functionalities.
Well, but I mean, it's like, this is where we were. Where can we go? And the Quarry asked this question very differently. Whereas, scientists who are in the extreme of this field be like, can we put gills on people? you know.
Yeah, but there's one thing that you're forgetting, Joe, and your can we and what if and thinking to the future. You're looking at this from an Earth standpoint. This is Eberron, where you could bond with a freaking like fire demon, or you could bond with an elemental. Welcome back. We were talking about the Plains of Madness, or we're about to dive into that. But before we dive into it, we want to just do a quick recap of what we've talked about so far. Kyber is got a lot of cults who worship her, and they vie for power. And this is why Joe, when he becomes a villain, will have henchmen, not a cult. Anyways, Eli, let's learn about the Plains of Madness.
So, during the Age of Monsters, the Plains of Madness open, and the beings called the Delkir come through to Eberron. This is close to an alien invasion, and we had mentioned before that they brought armies with them. And they may have brought some things with them. However, these beings often are referred to as flesh crafters. When they came through, they believe that change is beautiful, and their opinion of beauty is so different from ours. And they began to change the creatures, change the land, change everything about Eberron, the world that they have now come into, this alien world they're invading. And so beholders were crafted from the creatures of Eberron. They also took goblins and would take two goblins and mash them together to create some strange beast. They create these heaping piles of flesh with multi mouths and eyes and tentacles. So they have come here, and their power is to change and corrupt things. And this is I think a 4,000-year war. And when it's over, some of them go back to the Plane of Madness, but a lot of them lose their connection to their regular plane. They didn't make it through the gate before it was closed, and they retreat down into Kyber and are believed that they are tainting Kyber, and they might be the ones who will be able to destroy Eberron. And so some of these cults follow the Delkir, and specific Delkir. Each one kind of has their own specific. There's one who's the Lord of Slime, and yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
What do they look like?
So they kind of look humanoid-ish or elvish, but they have long, dark claws. Their eyes are blackened, but they also they can shapeshift. Their doppelganger abilities. So you would rarely see them in their true form unless that's what they wanted to show you. But they also will fleshcraft themselves to be like, I want to express this. And they'll I want an eyeball on my shoulder. Yay, little eyeball shoulder.
Yeah, so anytime I've encountered the quarry, they are usually hiding among people. And so they look like people.
Mm-hmm.
So...
yeah, that makes sense. And they're called the Delkir.
So they're called Quarry. They're called the Quarry, and they are from Delkir.
Oh.
Yeah, Quarry is the name of the people. Delkir is their homeland.
And there's a lot of them that came through.
Yeah, well, there's a war that goes on for thousands of years. They had armies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a good collection. I think about 12 that are of note. These were basically generals of armies and just uber powerful race of people who came through that rival the overlords. Like that was the kind of power they were dealing with. And like I said, they like to change and corrupt things. And so a lot of people believe that since they're down in Khyber, they might be corrupting the overlords and changing them, perhaps giving them.
I wouldn't say they like to corrupt things. They like to alter things to better fit their desire, right?
Right. To fit their opinion of beauty, right? Yeah. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but so is ugly.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like the Quarry are very much about enslaving minds, but they try to like being enslaved to a quarry is more like being on an opium drip as opposed to being like an exhausted, like tortured slave. Like the way they enslave you is just by offering you kind of this endless mind pleasure.
Mm-hmm. And
so this is the Matrix.
This
is cool.
What are you talking about? The Matrix is not a good place. Like they made paradise and then they destroyed it and made the modern world where most people are poor and suffering.
Yeah, but you said they offer this drip of just happiness, and in the Matrix, some people get that.
Some people get that.
Yeah, it's kind of that.
What is it? I know there was there in mythology, I can't remember which culture it's from. There is a vampire, and as opposed to like stalking its prey and then hunting it and tearing it apart, what it is when they like their fangs are both injectors and they both siphon and inject, and so when they bite their victims, they inject almost like an intense morphine into the victim.
Yeah.
And so they experience an overwhelming rush of pleasure. And so instead of the vampire like having to sneak up or overpower, what happens is their prey becomes addicted and is constantly coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want another hit.
Yeah. And that would be this kind of situation.
That's the Quarry.
And the Quarry would delegate these tasks of managing people to their Liliths, or Lithids, the squid-faced Cthulhu-looking guys, or Aboliths, which are kind of an aquatic version of that, who have a very good ability to mind control others.
These are what now? Where'd they come from?
The Quarry created these creatures.
Okay.
When they came to Eberron, so
they were just like, you know what? I need some type of. I'm seeing what the hobgoblins are doing with the goblins. I think that's
seeing what the hobgoblins.
I'm gonna do something similar, and that's what they did here.
Yeah, but when you say it like that, that reminds me more of the creatures that they created, where they've taken two goblins and molded them together to create a double goblin.
It's not. I mean, it's more similar to the other one because they took their own lineage and made something kind of like them, but different. Whereas just seeing two goblins on the side of the road, we're just like, you know what? 1 + 1 equals still 1, but bigger.
So the Lithids, the Aboliths, the Beholders, they were all created from creatures of Eberron. They came through and created the creatures.
What were they before?
Beholders, this was created by one who is obsessed with eyes. Eyes is his whole deal. And so he just collected eyes from a bunch of different creatures and a bit of flesh and formed a beholder.
Okay, so let me see if I can recap this just right. These Quarry come to Earth and they're like, you know what? We're basically just artists, but really chaotic darkness artist.
Really chaotic darkness artists.
We're going to take some flesh, we're going to take some eyeballs, we're going to take some organs, we're going to mush it all together and just see what happens. And that's where a lot of scary monsters in Eberron come from.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of the twisted Zoriat aberrations.
Okay, so we're going to get into those more, but at least I understand kind of how that, like, this genesis of these monsters. So this beholders then is...
And one of the specific quarry, they down in Kyber, like in current era, they're literally just being an artist, and all it is the destruction of Eberron. They're not trying to rule anyone or anything. They're just like, I just found a cave down here, and I'm just going to paint. And eventually, one day, I will come up and make my paintings real.
Sweet, that's horrific. Thanks for that.
They're very artistic individuals. That is a good way to describe them.
Oh, what is it? We saw this in that Mars series, the sci-fi series that you read. Pierce Brown wrote it.
Mars series.
Aaron read this book. Yes, you read at least the first one. So like he
travels from Mars.
No, they're called Reds, and they live underground.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I my little brother showed me that book. I forgot, like Jupiter Rising or Mercury.
No, not that. Let me see if I can.
I don't remember. Mars Mageddon. I don't remember the name of it. I know what you're talking about. I totally forgot. I listened to that book like 2 years ago.
Red Rising.
Yeah. See, that's what I said.
Red Rising, yeah. So it's like in Red Rising, they have people who are called cutters. And I mean, they're using surgical techniques and instant healing and genetic mutation, but like they turn people into all kinds of things, and they're artists, right? Mm-hmm. Like
they take them.
Like they'll give a human functioning, alive, feathered wings just because they want to.
So it's based loosely off Rome hierarchy, where there's like different tiers of humans. And so basically your main character is from the lowest of the low, and he meets one of these artists, which is like, middle class, and they turn him into a high class person, and they have to like genetically modify him because the high class people are bigger and stronger, more endurance, all that stuff. And so it's fascinating and terrifying.
Yeah.
Anyways,
but these remind me of the Dalcor, right? They are flesh artists.
Yeah. Yes. Artists of the flesh, as it were. All right. Well, what are we doing next episode?
So next episode, I think we'll cover hags and their key role in all of this unification of the pulse of the dragon below.
Sounds good.
That's good. All right.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode and want more on the topic,
we record a special treasure room for our patrons after every episode. In the regular episode, we go deep. In the treasure room, we go wide. To enjoy the bonus content, sign up at the fluorite level or higher.
There is a treasure room for every episode from August 2021 and on. That's double the content. 2 episodes a week instead of 1.
Go to www.patreon.com/floor, fantasy and lore. That's floor spelled FLORE. Select the fluorite tier or higher. Immediately after each episode is released, the Treasure Room will post the bonus audio on Patreon. They are identified by the tag Treasure Room After and the title of the episode. You can also do a search for the keywords Treasure Room and find all the content you've been missing. Thanks for listening.
Leave us a review. Tell us why you like listening to us. Is it our awesome deep dives? Is it our amazing back and forth? Is it our charming good looks?
What would you like us to add or change? You can put that in the review as well. We read reviews.
Yeah, and if you're going to be leaving us a review telling us what you like about it, maybe you even want to share the content with your friends. Like and share on social media. You can join us on Twitter and Facebook. We post memes. And we actually started a Discord, so come play with us.
So a lot of the worlds we cover have a retcon. If you're not familiar with that term, it's reconstruction. Or sometimes we might use a bad source for some of our lore research. And if that happens, feel free to email us at florefantasyandlore@gmail.com. That is floor spelled FLORE, fantasyandlore@gmail.com. And if you're angry enough, we'll read it on the air.
Yes, we will. Also, the treasure room is now available. We have locked a few secrets for everything we cover in there. And each week, we add more.
And you can find the treasure room on patreon.com/floor fantasy and lore. And how do you spell that, Aaron?
That's lore with an F at the beginning. So it sounds like floor, but it's not the floor you're thinking because it's our floor.
We hope you enjoyed your time on the floor. Think about your favorite part of the episode. Now think about your nerdiest friend. Who is it? What is their name? They want to know about the floor. Stop holding out on them. Go and tell them about your favorite part.
Because all of this is more fun together.